All right. So, welcome from San Francisco Bay Area. There's a lot of disinformation and dishonesty and lies, frankly, about Poland and what's going on in Poland and what has happened in Poland. It's been a pivot point of modern history, especially in the 20th century, but it continues to this day. So, what I want to show you is my reaction to what's going on in Poland and how, more importantly, how Poland is portrayed by the mass media. So I think the best way to demonstrate this is to do a Google search for Poland. Of course, we have lovely Poland, and then you want to limit this by news. Just popping back here. Oh, actually, this is looks like Gdańsk, Wawel Royal Castle. There's the Wieliczka salt mine. Okay, in any case, are they going to show Warsaw? Show Warsaw. Gdańsk. Before that was Kraków. Again, Gdańsk. Here we go, Warsaw. I live like 2 blocks from here. And then Malbork near Gdańsk, where the Teutonic Knights were. Well, in any case, this is new where they cycle through these pictures. All right, what's the latest news on Poland? First, let's take a quick look at the sources because where you get your news from is critical to how the story is going to be presented, skewed in many cases. So here we have the conversation. I'm not sure about that source. Reuters, like Associated Press, is often a manipulated source that draws on local Polish leftist reporters, especially from Gazeta Wyborcza, which is like you could say it's like the New York Times of Poland, but that's giving it too much credit. It's a much less influential paper, and the New York Times itself is overrated, and it's lost a lot of its credibility, most of it. I mean, it's for a century at least, it's been harassing and attacking Poland unjustly. Notes from Poland. This is a blog essentially run by one person, maybe two or three people, but there's one main guy who does it. It's also a very skewed perspective on Poland, a leftist perspective on Poland, notes from Poland. Here we have a either Ukrainian or a Russian source, Politico.eu, so Politico, another liberal leftist source. AP is essentially Reuters. Janes, so this is defense related. So you'll have some defense industry, military industrial complex type content, but probably not very political, just more business related about some announcements about whatever the Polish government is buying as far as weapons. The Kyiv Independent, so another a Ukrainian site, which will be pro-Ukrainian, and for better or for worse, that's actually you could say that's a normal thing that a newspaper from a given country is supportive of the interests of that country. It's not, criticizing that country, trying to undermine it, trying to say that that country is, racist or colonialist or whatever evil that has been evil of the day has been chosen, like the New York Times or like the Washington Post or CNN or other sources. Medusa, I've never heard of that. Poland charges wife of jailed Russian activist with spying. So that Medusa is not a very good connotation because the Medusa is it's not something you want to deal with in the ocean. And Bloomberg also, Michael Bloomberg, for the former liberal Republican mayor of New York. So this will be, sort of mainstream pseudo-conservative, but more liberal actually, and probably um, not too positive about Poland, although here we have just kind of more boring financial stuff. So I think with Bloomberg, you're going to tend to get financial stuff about Poland. You get these random little sites with things. You have military purchasing stories, Kyiv Independent. It'll be sympathetic towards Poland when the interests of Ukraine and Poland align, and it'll be anti-Polish when they don't. AP and Reuters will be anti-Polish. Well, they'll be pro-Polish, the current Polish government, because the current Polish government is pro-German, pro-EU, but pro-EU essentially means pro-German, so they'll be behind the interests of Germany. It's a strange situation in Poland where their own leaders are not fully on board with maximizing Poland's economic growth and defense and everything, because that would involve being in conflict, at least economically, with Germany, Poland's biggest trading partner, next door neighbor, who, of course, there are horrible historical things that have not been settled yet between Germany and Poland, namely what Germany did to destroy Poland and its people in World War II, and which it never compensated Poland for in any way. And then notes from Poland, so like a smaller propaganda blog, and then the conversation is probably like the Medusa. Why don't we go in here and see what this is all about? Academic rigor, journalistic flair. So it's presenting itself as uh, something alternative. And just to give you a quick summary of what's going on here, it's probably generally positive. Let's see what they say about Trump. Why don't we just go here? This is a new pedestrian bridge that was opened in Warsaw across the Vistula River. Very expensive and, oh, like I said, only a pedestrian bridge. So it's more of a tourist type thing. Of course, it'll be some help with people who bicycle from one side of the Vistula to the other, but whether that'll have I can assure you that it won't increase economic activity that would cover the costs of that bridge, which was tens, if not hundreds of millions of Polish zlotys, which are roughly 4 to 1, 4 zlotys for $1 US. And I could check that actually. Why don't we check that? Uh, Ile kosztował most nad Wisłą Kładka? Because it's like a um, I'm not sure what Kładka means. It has something to do with like it's not a full bridge. It's a pedestrian kind of footbridge. Okay, footbridge, catwalk, plank. But here we're talking about a footbridge, and so there was an agreement for 121 million Polish zloty, so $30 million, but it cost. I think it said in before I clicked the link, close to 180 million, which is $45 million. So 15 million dollars over budget to build this. Here we have the nice Warsaw skyline, and we got this bridge. So I live, my place is over here, and then it's half an hour walk to the old town, and then here along the river you have the pedestrian bridge. So this isn't, I mean, it might create the illusion that's like, wow, it'll take you right downtown. But here you've got at least a mile uphill to get there. So, you ride your bicycle, you're riding all the way from wherever you live on this side of the river and then there. So it'll help, it's probably safer than going on this bridge that already exists, but that's a mostly a auto bridge, but it does have sidewalks on either side, and then the next bridge over. So it's, in my view, it's more of one of these kind of leftist vanity projects. The leftist mayor of Warsaw, Rafał Trzaskowski, who's running for president now of Poland, is infamous for these projects that cost a lot and they are of dubious value. Um, I'll take a walk on it. I'm sure it'll be nice, but it took several years. I remember it being, just these pylons about a year ago, maybe more. And so it's finally done. And then given that it's a pedestrian bridge, it does not have the same needs as an auto bridge, which would require much more engineering. Nonetheless, several years to do. And like I said, probably it'll be a negligible economic benefit. or we have Trzaskowski um, talking about probably the bridge. All right, so that's that. Um, so it looks like this is a kind of a puff piece about Poland, which is not bad compared to the other stuff that you get about the economic growth. Poland is doing well, although the current government that took over a year ago is not helping a lot. It doesn't want Poland to grow too much because then that would undermine Germany. Uh, and there's a subservient mentality in Poland towards Germany and the West in general that it's better and that we shouldn't step on their toes. But this goes back, historically, Poland was partitioned between Germany, Russia, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire for over 100 years. And then, of course, after a brief 20 years of independence starting in 1918, Poland again was invaded by Germany and Russia. And at the end of World War II was under Russian control until 89, actually until the early 90s, by the time the last of the Red Army left. And then even after that, you had basically the politicians who were raised in communist Poland took charge. And it wasn't really until the Law and Justice government, which took control in 2015, both the presidency and the parliament, and they were in power for 8 years until a relatively normal Polish government was in charge. Before that, you had the post-communists, and now again you have the post-communists and their the next generation. I mean, Tusk, the guy who's the prime minister now, is I think the one guy who's left over from the early 90s era, and he's in charge again. Then he was a junior, like a almost a coffee boy for the post-communists, but now he's in charge. He'd rather be somewhere else. He doesn't like being in Poland. He doesn't like Poland, especially from based on what he said and his actions. So um, here you have him with Zelensky. They had a meeting in January, so this is quite a while ago. And then you have here talk about Poland's military, which is rising, which is, a good thing because of the threat from Russia that continues. But nonetheless, all the time, Poland is dependent on Russia. I'm sorry. Nonetheless, Poland is dependent on the U.S. for defense from Russia. And although Poland was dependent on Russia for its energy for a long time until recently, and that's a big issue is getting off of the Russian energy addiction, which Poland largely, I think, has done. They might still have some small amount of energy coming in, but Germany would love to go back to that arrangement because their economic growth is based all on cheap Russian energy. And that is why the election of Donald Trump puts a wrench in the plans of the Germans. And I think Tusk, the fellow here from Gdańsk, you saw earlier, the Gdańsk photos. Um, Trump, despite the media propaganda over the last years, is not a Russian asset. There's danger, of course, that he would like to maybe be too conciliatory towards Russia, but I think that's overblown. But he's definitely not some kind of secret Russian agent. Germany, though, was close friends and would love to be close friends again with Putin. The thing with Trump is that he offers an alternative, a continued American presence in Europe, of course, with Europe footing more of the bill for its own defense, as it should be. But he is against a arrangement between Germany and Russia, Tusk being kind of an intermediary between Germany and Russia. Um, Although, Germany has no problem going over, Tusk said, and whoever else, but they know they can count on Tusk for whatever policies they want to implement. But Germany is in a position of severe weakness now. So really the tables have quickly turned with Trump's victory, the relative, chaotic situation in Germany with the weakness of their government. And the hope is that Trump and the US can impose a new direction on Europe, hopefully offer an energy alternative to Russia as it has been. A lot of American natural gas is bought by the Europeans, and it comes in liquefied natural gas form on large, huge container ships or tanker ships that come to specialized ports that transport the energy. It comes in, from what I understand, liquefied form, and then it's aerosolized, I believe, for transportation. It may be the other way around, so don't quote me on that. But the point is that you need to have specialized ports to receive the energy, and then it is transported along pipelines to where it needs to go. Poland has such a port, Germany does, and I bet Germany has several ports. I think only Poland only has one LNG port. And so let's see what the end of this article says, and I think that will wrap it up for today. I just wanted to give you a quick intro into looking at the news about Poland and how Poland is portrayed in the world. And we can go into deeper into other articles in the next video. But here you have, let's just read it together. Poland's main weakness is its dependence on subsidies from the European Union. I don't know about that because it's, they are there, but I don't think it's more than 15% of the budget or so. Along with Hungary, the country is the main beneficiary of the European Union's budget. Well, it should be. Poland should be getting much more, especially from Germany for what Germany did and failed to compensate Poland for. The situation reduces Poland's ability to pursue policies independently and shows that its economy is still dependent on Western Europe. I think they mix some things here. European Union funds are one thing, and then economic activity, such as buying European goods, Western European goods, and exporting them is another thing. Poland is closely tied to Germany's economy. This year, in the first half of this year, Poland surpassed China as Germany's main, not the main, they're not number one, but I believe Poland is number two or three, maybe four on Germany's main trade partners or export destinations. And so basically, Poland is more important to Germany than China, which makes sense because they're neighbors. Poland is a place where a lot of German manufacturing is done. So a lot of German products are manufactured in Poland. And that's why Germany doesn't want Poland to develop too much. They want that relatively cheap resource base for cheaper labor, certainly cheaper than in Germany, to maintain their economy. And like I said, the energy uh, situation with losing energy deliveries from Russia. They're still doing it. They're still getting energy from Russia, but the majority of it has ceased since the war in Ukraine began 2.5 years ago. So Germany is looking for any cost savings it can. So it definitely does not want Poland to rise up. And it remains to be seen how U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's second administration will influence this Polish development. The more isolationist and less pro-Ukraine turn of American Republicans under Trump could push Poland to accelerate rearmament to offset the risk of a drop in American military support. So this also, I think, is a manipulation. See, so you have to even look out for this stuff that is ostensibly neutral. In this case, Poland is in NATO, and it has support from the United States through NATO. America is the um, main driving force within NATO, and there's no, suggestion that America is not going to support Poland if it needs to. Poland should be arming up because it needs to pull as much of its own weight as it can, especially in unity with its immediate neighbors, and then not too far neighbors like Finland and Romania. Unfortunately, Germany is probably the biggest wild card in all of this because they are largely disarmed. They don't have a strong military. They have a decent amount of equipment. They also have a pretty good arms industry, actually very good, but most of that is exported. So I don't think Trump's presidency endangers Poland at all. If anything, it makes Poland more safe because he's less likely to sell Poland out to Germany as Biden attempted to do. Germany has just failed to enter that leadership role because they're a relatively weak state. You know, they're strong on the continent, but they're not a world power. So that's the problem with Germany. So that's just a quick overview of news about Poland. And we'll go into some other stories in the future, but I just wanted to give you a summary of how I see things and how you should look at various sources critically, and also the fact that, like it or not, Poland is presented in the world through these sources. I mean, you could look at these sources, and that's basically, besides things like Medusa or whatever that you maybe don't see that often, these are the sources that present, shape Poland, um, Poland's view, the view of Poland in the world. And note that none of them are Polish sources. This is all filtered through international sources that publish in English. Maybe further down here you'd have some Polish source, but then in the best case, it's a government source that's run by a government that's not fully online with Polish growth and greatness, really. So, well, this is interesting. Something about the only known banner bearing Hitler's personal standard found in Poland. So sometimes you get these curious, stories um, that may be interesting historically. But again, it's this presentation of Poland as some kind of place where Nazi memorabilia is found, which it's, I mean, that's where the Germans were. So obviously things were hidden, things were stored, things were taken and found by people as the war wound on and the Germans were pushed out of Poland by the Red Army and defeated. But again, it's, um, what is the benefit? What is the point of these stories? All right, so that's all for now. If you'd like to see more, please hit the subscribe button, and I welcome any comments that you may have. This is Nick signing off from the San Francisco Bay Area. Talk to you next time.